As the next generation of the space race sets its sights on Mars, Florida's Space Coast hopes to reap the benefits with a return to what put it on the map. On this edition of Orlando Sentinel Snapshot, we focus on the space industry's push to put man back into orbit and beyond. I'm Rich Pope reporting from Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, the permanent home of Space Shuttle Atlantis. Over the years, space exploration has inspired generations of scientists, inventors, and ordinary citizens. But is the renewed interest in space travel sparking imaginations today? Then, with an optimistic goal of manned shuttles by 2018, private companies in the United States are setting the pace in what is becoming Space Race 2.0. And the Space Coast faced a bleak economic forecast as the shuttle program came to a close. We check in with area businesses to see how they are weathering the ups and downs. Finally, for 45 years, Orlando Sentinel photographer Red Huber has captured the beauty and power of launches at Kennedy Space Center. We get a peek behind the camera. There's no doubt that space was cool in the 50s and 60s, but has a renewed interest in space travel sparked imaginations today? They were milestones achieved by NASA in those early days of the space race.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Achievements that would be built upon for decades.
That's one small step for man.
It brought a collective wave of pride and wonder as a country looked upward and considered that Americans had made it to the moon.
One giant leap for mankind.
These accomplishments would propel NASA through the 70s and into the 80s when the public was introduced to an icon.
Liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis on the mission to build, resupply.
It's such an iconic vehicle that everybody identified space exploration with the shuttle. But when the shuttle was retired, a lot of people thought NASA had gone out of the space business.
And without any obvious successor to the shuttle program, I think there was kind of a lull in there where people were sort of wondering what really is the future of the space program. I think the good thing is that we are kind of crawling out of that.
The re-energizing of the public interest since the grounding of the shuttle program has been thanks to the unmanned crafts. Rovers that roam Mars and views of Saturn and its rings explored by Cassini.
The first time you get to a kind of object that you've never visited before, to be able to see these things up close as real bodies and real objects and not just little tiny fuzzy things that you see in a telescope, right? That's an incredibly fulfilling thing.
Then throw in the commercial pursuits by the private sector.
Falcon 9 to the space station.
Along with talk of Mars, the moon, and even space tourism, and space once again seems to be at the forefront.
Just the sheer number of really cool things happening in terms of exploration of the solar system. It's kind of reached this sort of critical level where the general public is like, wow, there's really a lot going on, and we just get hit by it every day. There's something in the news exciting somewhere in the solar system.
And the younger generation, they've once again started taking notice.
The red spot is actually a storm, and it's actually disappearing.
This next generation, like Andrew Amberzakia, at age 9, he's already all in on the topic of space.
Whenever I grow up, I want to be a rocket scientist for NASA. Bazinga! I want to have something to do with the beginning of people colonizing Mars.
It's not far off to consider that in his lifetime, manned trips could happen sooner rather than later.
Certainly in our kids' lifetimes, and that they're going to buy tickets to go into space. Maybe not orbit, but they'll go on suborbital flights that'll go to Australia in 4 hours instead of 20.
But going further is where many hopefuls are aiming for. Considering last year, for the first time ever, NASA put out an open call for astronauts and received over 18,000 applications. That field has since been whittled to a class of 12, but the task ahead is not going to get easier.
Just going to Mars doesn't happen. It's actually a very difficult thing to do, from everything from starting with the orbital mechanics to landing to supporting a crew that would go that distance and be gone that long. We're going to have to recycle pretty much 97% of everything we do to go to Mars and back.
Even if it's not quite, the kind of Star Trek universe where we're just moving around all over the place, even if we just get to go to the moon, I still think that that's going to happen because I think there's still a lot of potential there.
And while there is work to be done, this exploration that we've watched from afar here on Earth is said to be done for our benefit.
Because everything that we do in space isn't for us, isn't just for NASA. It's for really everybody here. And things we do there change things here on the planet, and oftentimes in fundamental ways, in ways that you don't even anticipate.
Elon Musk of SpaceX and Jeff Bezos of Blue Origin are leading the charge with Mars as their target destination. We explore their fight and who the other major players are. As the rocket ignitions fire more frequently, sending the signature white plumes from the launch pads at Kennedy Space Center, it appears as if the Space Coast is once again living up to its name. And this new race to space appears to be more of a prize fight with some serious contenders. Welcome to the main event. In one corner, coming in with a net worth of over $20 billion, a man that made his fortune by co-founding PayPal, now leading a luxury car brand Tesla alongside SpaceX, riding on the success of the Falcon 9 rocket, Elon. Of course, I still love you, Musk. His competitor, the man with a soaring net worth of over $80 billion, the founder of Amazon, laying the groundwork for getting into orbit with a new Shepard rocket, Jeff the Prime Bezos.
What we're looking at is entrepreneurs that are excited about space and have ideas about space and have the money to back it up.
But this fight requires way more than money.
Space is just hard. Just getting there and getting back, it's hard to do. But you're seeing people that have a driving interest.
Here's the deal. If two billionaires duking it out wasn't interesting enough, you throw in a third that comes with some serious launchpad cred, and the Cape is really coming alive.
And lift off.
No, it doesn't have a notable billionaire at the top, but make no mistake, this next competitor has been getting the job done. Part Boeing, part Lockheed, twisted together to form the United Launch Alliance!
They got together several years ago, and they were the primary contractor on most of the government flights.
But this competition is starting to spread out.
SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket with...
As the Air Force decided that SpaceX could also compete against United Launch Alliance for contracts.
And that's the exciting thing for Florida, I think, because when Blue Origin gets here, you're going to have Blue Origin, SpaceX is already here, the United Launch Alliance is here. Those are all major players.
But let's get back to the part that makes it hard to look away. Musk and Bezos giving some old-fashioned smack talk.
They have a very informal competition going on. You've seen a couple times when they're both on Twitter and they'll give each other, jabs.
And here's the deal. Both contenders have proven it's not all talk.
There's a pattern when it comes to Elon Musk, right? He'll throw out an idea, people will call him crazy, he'll work and it'll happen. I mean, you look at PayPal, you look at any of the big ideas that he's been involved in.
And the big haymaker thrown currently is working towards getting to a neighboring planet.
He rarely fails to mention Mars, because that's been his goal for a very long time.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past. And I can't think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars.
While Mars and the BFR spacecraft the company is designing to get there may be a ways off, the stepping stone goal of getting man back into orbit is in the works, as the heavy lift rocket, the Falcon Heavy, is already being assembled at the Cape. This massive 3-stage rocket is projected to be more powerful than the Saturn V rockets used for the Apollo moon missions. But it's not the only one. Bezos also has a sight set on getting man back into orbit in Mars.
And they actually have a huge factory that's coming up on the Space Coast.
When finished, this 750,000 square foot factory will be used for the manufacturing of the company's very own heavy lift rocket. The New Glenn rocket, named after the storied astronaut John Glenn, is a 3-stage rocket designed to be reusable. And United Launch Alliance is also in the mix, partnering with NASA to build the Atlas V Starliner. However, with fluctuations in federal budgeting, the timeframe could be delayed on this project. Nonetheless, NASA has been a good cornerman for all the competitors out at the Cape.
The private sector moving into the realm that we've occupied with NASA for a while is a good thing. In fact, that's our job at NASA, is really to figure out how to do this and then hand it over to the private sector so that they can expand industry into it. And that's what gets me excited about this whole thing. It's going to change the world for our kids, and it's all going to change it for the better, as it always has.
When the shuttle program came to a close, the Space Coast faced a bleak economic forecast. Now that things are heating up at Cape Canaveral, area businesses say they're still waiting for the economy to take off.
Steve's Diner in Titusville proudly gives customers their first lift of the day.
Very comfortable feeling here. We know most of our customers by names.
This is my home away from home.
Customers who, for the most part, fit into a category.
Old and retired space workers.
But after the shuttle program ended in 2011, the future was uncertain.
It really slowed down. I mean, I used to work out of the Space Center, and it was so busy.
The town almost died when the shuttle program ended, but it's coming back quickly.
And that's good news.
I don't think it'll get as busy as it once was, but it's definitely getting there. Ham and cheese omelet?
Busy or not, John will be here welcoming any new faces.
Usually on my weekends, we eat here 3 times a day.
And he's got some advice for anyone still in doubt about the area's comeback.
We're up and coming. Watch us go.
The Titusville Chamber of Commerce shares his optimism.
We are great at launches, but you can launch a vacation, you can launch a business, you can launch your life. You can launch anything from here.
Between the Apollo and shuttle programs, the Space Coast lost more than 20,000 workers throughout the years. But thanks to the private space industry, a renewed excitement is building.
It's incredibly fun just to feel that. We're opening new stores and new restaurants every month. It's infusing enthusiasm and energy into the community, and so it's a great time.
Just a short drive away is a place where astronauts park and space fanatics fill their closets.
We still have a few pieces, odd pieces from 114.
Owner Brenda Mulberry learned a lot through her 31 years in the business.
I certainly know that there's a right way and a wrong way to draw the space shuttle.
Back in the shuttle program days, space shirts couldn't keep their shirts on the shelves.
It was like we were giving stuff away. You would really have believed the roof came off and something sucked everything out of here.
Those days are gone now, and what's replaced it is a hurdle for her company.
It's not America's space program anymore. It's launched into the private sector. Those images are copyrighted.
Basically, they can't design shirts for every launch the way they used to, and
it's difficult to make a rocket look good on a shirt.
But that setback is not slowing down customers' excitement.
I suspect that as the race happens to see who's going to launch toward Mars first, we're going to see a huge influx of interest.
But fans of history have hundreds of opportunities to relive the past.
We see people coming here to see nostalgia
and enjoy the future.
They're in for a really good treatment because it's a great place to live.
Capturing the magic and excitement of space launches here at the Cape is a privilege that most photographers only dream about. For years, the Orlando Sentinel photo team has been capturing the groundbreaking events from behind the lens. But one man has been doing it longer than the rest. Kayla O'Brien brings us his story.
After nearly 50 years on the job,
I wanted to do something different.
Orlando Sentinel photographer Red Huber developed a process.
That is nice, I like that.
To help him land that perfect shot.
Dot my I's and cross my T's.
But his specialty isn't the landing.
What of you? What of you?
It's the takeoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Red's a man who doesn't see himself as a big star.
Sometimes the photo guides are not that great to me. But most of the time they really are.
He's covered more launches than he can count.
I wish I kept track, to tell you the truth.
His favorite shot of all time came with a stellar endorsement.
This was STS-88 in 1998. NASA grabbed it from our website and sent it to the crew in space and said, hey, how about this picture? You got to make prints for all the crew. And I said, hey, I'll give them an extra one. They all got to sign it.
His lifetime adventure covering space began during the Apollo 15 mission in 1971.
A mentor of mine, Tony Lopez, Tony said, hey, you want to come to a rocket launch? And I said, I'm in. He showed me the ropes. I'd slosh through all the water, you know, and I'd carry all of his equipment. I'd get him coffee. I'd do anything to learn from him. He talked to his editors, and he gave us, it was a co-byline, photo by Tony Lopez and Red Huber, and that meant a lot to me.
Another thing that means a lot are the people who see his photos.
I had someone like a shuttle picture so much, they shot a picture of it on the refrigerator. They cut it out, pinned it on, put a magnet, put it on there, and that meant a lot to me. Because you know how many people walk by the refrigerator? Today they owe me one.
Shooting a launch starts hours and sometimes days before the countdown. He sets up several cameras near the launch pad that are controlled by a sound-activated remote.
And we're rolling.
The noise from the rocket taking off triggers the cameras to start shooting.
I've got the system down pretty good now.
On launch day, there's not much room for error.
This is my primo view. This is my favorite location.
And now it's showtime.
3, 2, 1, 0. Lift off at about 9. Falcon 9 over tower.
So cool.
No matter how many times he's done it.
Holy mackerel.
It's still a feeling that's out of this world.
Man, still standing. That's so cool. Yay! Nice job.
Kennedy Space Center is roaring back to life with rocket launches and soon manned spacecraft taking off from Launch Pad 39A. And you can bet Orlando Sentinel photographer Red Huber will be photographing these milestones. The future looks bright for Florida's space industry and those that dream big. Thanks for watching this edition of Orlando Sentinel Snapshot.